The following two participants are in the conference.
AV room.
Dale Kelly.
No, not during the, but they do have to have cross sections.
Okay.
They do. So I gotta see what he has proposed.
So, yeah, because I think they'll announce him, but it is just 1 minute to 10.
Traffic requirement.
Yeah, right.
Don't hold it if we start late now.
I'm trying not to.
Private school.
Two.
But, what I did with her,
Order to bail.
He's on the line.
Box over. Did. Road that allows you.
you don't graduate?
Is my computer in your way?
No.
I'd almost, okay, I'm just gonna say too
I
bad.
might have to steal your pen, if I can do that.
Okay.
I'd like to bring the September 14th, 2016 Planning and Zoning meeting to order. Would everybody please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Abbott,
Here.
Commissioner Selberg, Commissioner Brule, Commissioner Azarmi,
Here.
Commissioner Walker,
Here.
Commissioner Gabrielson,
Present.
Commissioner Kelly. Do we have Commissioner Kelly on the line?
The following two participants are in the conference.
AV room.
Dale Kelly.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner, thank you. Commissioner Gordon? Chairman Flouché?
Present.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Excuse me. We need help on the.
Yes, he's coming down. Yeah, thank you. I'm good.
All right. Couple of announcements. Anyone who has not yet signed in, please do so at the table located in the lobby. Should anyone wish to speak, please complete a request to speak form, which is also located in the lobby table next to the sign-in sheet. A request to speak form must be completed for each item you would like to speak on, including sub-items. Please note that there are stairs on the right, left, and center aisle, and we ask that you use caution when using these stairs. There's also a ramp located at the audience's left. Excuse me. If anyone has written comments, exhibits, petitions, photos, or letters they intend to use at today's meeting, please have 17 copies and give them to the staff member at the back of the auditorium. And they're back there with their hand up. Thank you very much. Members of the public cannot speak to the staff that are sitting in the tables with the microphones during the meeting. If you have any questions, please see the staff member located at the back of the auditorium who can meet you in the lobby and discuss. All speakers are limited to 2 minutes to make their presentations. Everyone, please turn off your cell phones or pagers or place them on vibrate during the meeting. If you must receive a call, please leave the area and go outside to have your conversation. We also ask the audience refrain from talking with anyone during the presentations and discussion. Today, the Planning and Zoning Commission will hear public testimony and then forward a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. The items with the recommendations made by the Commission will be heard by the Board of Supervisors Monday, October 3rd, 2016 at 9:30 a.m. in the same location, with the exception of any continued items. Everyone attending the meeting is asked to remember that the administrative building and campus are tobacco-free areas, which means no smoking allowed curb to curb. Also, only bottled water is allowed in the auditorium. No food, sodas, coffees, etc. is allowed in the auditorium. If there's any item remaining on the agenda, the commission will break for lunch at 1 p.m. Approval of last month's meetings. Everybody had a chance to review. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Zami, a second by Commissioner Gaberson. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Item number 1.
Mr. Chairman, I need to excuse myself from this item.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Item number 1 is an evaluation of a request for an amendment to BOS Resolution Number 93-122 on the assessor parcel numbers that are listed in your report and in your packets, to allow for a setback reduction in front yards from 20 feet to 15 feet and in rear yards from 20 feet to 15 feet in the South Mojave Valley vicinity, Mojave County, Arizona. The assessor parcel numbers listed are located within Desert Lakes subdivision, tract 4076. All subject properties are currently zoned SDR, Special Development Residential, and consist of vacant lots and single-family residential dwellings. Resolution number 93-122, adopted May 3rd, 1993, set forth setbacks of 20 feet in the front and rear yard and 5 feet in the side yard. At the time, the zoning ordinance had a more restrictive setback of 25 feet in the rear and 20 feet in the front yard. As of December 2nd, 2015, revisions to the Mojave County zoning ordinance took effect. The revisions reduced the front yard setbacks from 20 feet to 15 feet and reduced the rear yard setback from 25 feet to 15 feet on residentially zoned properties. However, the new setbacks did not apply to properties located within the Desert Lakes subdivision because of the setbacks within the subdivision were set by BOS Resolution Number 93-122. In order to change the setbacks within the Desert Lake subdivision, an amendment would have to be made to the resolution. Development Services sent out individual packets to all property owners within the Desert Lake subdivision. The packets included a letter from Development Services that explained the reduction in setbacks and its process, a response form that indicated whether or not the property owner would like to be included in the reduction in setbacks, a waiver of claims for diminution in value form, and a prepaid returned envelope. In order to be included in the proposed amendment to BOS Resolution 93-122, each property owner had to check yes on the response form, sign both the response and waiver forms, and return it to Development Services Department by July 25th, 2016. A total of 762 parcels were included in the mailing, with 179 responding yes, 62 responding no, 32 that did not send in all of the needed paperwork, and 22 that were returned by the post office because of bad addresses. Staff recommends to amend BOS Resolution Number 93-122 as follows: that the setbacks shall not be less than 15 feet back from the front and rear property lines and 5 feet from side property lines. Staff has received 2 letters in opposition to the setback change and 1 letter in favor. Thank you.
The applicant is the county, I believe. We have 2 speakers on the item. Thomas Vandelier? No. Okay, I'm sorry.
The only concern I have is that
Chairman,
You need to come up to the microphone. Please state your name and address.
Tom Vandelester, 2057 Crystal Drive, Fort Mojave. The only concern that I have is to whether or not there's going to be a reassessment of the property because of this, and that my taxes might change and be increased. And I'd like to know the answer to that.
Okay, I don't think so, but can we get one of the staff members to verify that for me? I don't think it's going to affect anything.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, as a rule, a change in zoning does not have a direct effect necessarily on the assessments. What will have a direct effect on the assessments is should any of the property owners who concurred with the change in setbacks, should they build something onto the house or build a bigger house as a result of the change in setbacks, then that's when those properties would see an increase in assessments based on square footage of the building itself.
Okay. Well, so it sounds like the only difference would be is if you're building a much bigger house.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Oh, one other thing.
Yes.
Will I be receiving a letter stating that I did, in fact, approve the...
Mr. Chairman, there are several properties that are involved in this, and we would have to get with the gentleman after the meeting and concur
Okay.
on the inclusion, and yes, you should be receiving a letter.
Thank you.
I have a question of staff before we get to our next speaker. If they didn't respond, I mean, this doesn't really cost anybody anything, really. So if they didn't respond, are we saying you have to live with the old setbacks, or does everybody in the subdivision get a change in the setbacks?
Mr. Chairman, you're correct. When we sent out the informational letter, we said if you did not respond, then you would not be included in the setback change. So they would still have the same setbacks that was set by the resolution of 20 feet in the back and 20 feet in the front.
Okay, that doesn't sound like, doesn't sound quite fair. I mean, everybody should be able to do those setbacks. That's my point.
Mr. Chairman, we also received, like I said, 62 people responding saying that they did not want their setbacks changed. So when we sent out the letters to all 762 parcels, 62 of them said, no, don't change my setbacks. And we needed the confirmation saying, yes, please change my setbacks, and the signing of the waiver before we could change it.
Okay. I just wonder if these people actually understand what they're saying, no, I don't want it. All right, thank you very much.
I have a question for staff, for Scott. You said you needed a confirmation. What percentage did you need to present it or not present it? Was there?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Abbott, we did not have a percentage on whether or not we would present it before the commission and the board. We sent out letters to every property owner, and whoever's decided that they would like to have those changes made on their property, then we were going to include them in this meeting. And like I said, we received about 179 that said yes.
Just one last question on this. What if someone comes along in 3 months and says, oh, you know, I really want that setback? What do we do?
Mr. Chairman, as of right now, we have had a few say that they would like to be included. And as of right now, we've told them that they can come forward and go through the same process of going before the commission and the board, and can get that setback change as well.
Sorry about that. I forgot to turn my phone off.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, there were, I just like to make a slight correction. There were several of them that didn't return it on time, but they still want to have the setback reduced. And, we gave ample time. We gave deadlines, so have to be fair with everybody else. And it takes a tremendous amount of staff work to bring it in front of the commission. A lot of posting. Every single property has to be posted, and the surrounding properties and letters, quite a bit of expense. So I don't think we can make a promise that, that those that miss the deadline, they will, well, we will try to, we make every effort, and we put it on our list to try to make a second round. But,
Okay. I just,
But we don't want to make a promise in a public forum that they're going to be handled.
yeah, I just was, you know, there may be a lot of part-time people that live out there, I'm not sure, and a lot of times they don't respond to mailers. Thank you very much. All right, second speaker, Mehdi Azami.
Good morning. You all look really good from here. My name is Mehdi Azami, 1896 Clear Lake Drive. I'm addressing the commission to this morning, not as a commissioner, as a property owner. And I just wanted to provide some history of the subdivision because I live in that area for 26 years. At the time that they started the subdivision, all the surrounding areas there were larger properties, septic tank, and some of them well. And as a result, the ordinance we had at the time was showing like 25 feet setback front and back, and septic tanks and all that. So when the subdivision started Desert Lakes Estates, because of the golf course they built and all, and they wanted, their intention was to have a smaller property, 6,000 square foot average lots. They actually built their own sewer system, which was Sorensen's Utilities. And as a result, they wanted to have a little bit more of a relaxed ordinance on the setback. So they addressed the Board of Supervisors at the time, and they reduced the setback, and the only option available at the time was to go with the SD project, and that's why the Board of Supervisors approved it as such. The 6,000 square foot lot at that time, with the way that the market was going on, would accommodate a good-sized home, and in most cases, a 20 feet by 20 feet garage, which was very popular at that time. As you know, in today's market, we have about 10,000 baby boomers a day that are retiring, and they have a lot of toys that it comes with them. And some of the time, the boats and the trucks and all that, they would not fit into those garages. So as a result, the land use ordinance was recently was presented by the commission to the Board of Supervisors and got approved. And I guess my time is expiring, so I leave it up to the questions.
Any questions of the speaker?
I have a comment. Since Mr. Mehdi is speaking as a person that's involved in this request, I feel like he's got more to say than 3 minutes cutting him off.
I think so, too. I was going to let him.
Can you give him more time?
I can do that.
I appreciate that. To continue my conversation on this, 10,000 baby boomers a day are retiring, and we have a change in the market. They all need deeper garages. They have boats, etc. So you're gonna see more people are wanting a smaller homes but larger garages, and that would not accommodate this particular subdivision. It is under the current zoning that we have. They can build into the setback by 50%, meaning their covered patio can be, 10 feet away from the rear property line. So it is not that, they have to stop at 20 feet. Right now, with the patios that they have and the awnings, they can intrude into the setback by 10 feet. And, the new ordinance actually is going to kind of control that to some extent in the back. But what it's going to allow is to change the front setback from 20 feet, which they already have 9 feet public utility easement in the front of it. So the distance from the curb to the front of the garage right now is 29 feet. There is no sidewalk in this particular subdivision. So they want to add that 5 feet or so to the depth of the garage. Some of the trucks that, some of us are driving are more than 20 feet deep. They're, 21, 22 feet, So that's basically the logic. Now, one thing I was mentioning that I believe it was about a year ago or so that, 4 commissioners, Bob Jones, Mr. Jack Posanel, Paul Silberg, and myself, we basically we teamed up with the staff, and the land use ordinance changed the setback for all residential lots to be 15 and 15. So this basically subdivision kind of stayed out of that based on the information that Scott mentioned to you, that because it was approved by the Board of Supervisors, that's why it was excluded from that ordinance. So as a result, the only process, consulting with the staff and also Bob Taylor, our attorney, this was the avenue that they would be able to use to be able to bring it to be consistent with the conformity of the neighboring properties, to be consistent in terms of the 15 feet setback front and back. And that is basically the history behind it. And definitely it would be helpful. Those pictures shows that they have that very large distance that they can. And as you could see, one of the applicants, or one of the people who is in favor, is interested to add another 10 feet to the depth of the garage now after 20-some years.
Okay. Any additional questions of the speaker?
Yeah, I have a couple. We have one letter here that says if this change is made, it'll cause a huge impact on the view of the existing homes. Now, I think I understand, but please answer me.
Okay.
The only changes that's going to be made in the rear is change from what to what?
Okay, the change right now, the existing, the next door neighbor can build an awning or a patio as close as 10 feet from the rear property line. That is already, if they apply for a building permit and they put a covered patio, that is going to go 50% of the 20 feet, they can go ahead and build it that way. So in my opinion, they misunderstood, the rear setback problem, because, under the current, the rear setback is not going to change. The awning is going to intrude into the rear setback by, 50% of it, which would be as close as 10 feet. The only change that they're going to see is going to be the front setback, which is going to go from 20 feet to 15 feet, which adds 5 feet. And I believe in the same letter, they said that, they have no problem with the front setback, and also they want to make sure that it would be in conformity with the neighboring properties, which I believe that this would provide that, because all the other surrounding areas, they are going to have 15 and 15.
Well, now you don't quite answer my question. Maybe I'm not asking like I want to hear.
Okay?
I want to know. If you put a larger garage on the property, you put a house and a larger garage on there, that larger facility, being the garage, bigger, how much will that affect the neighbor next door? By how many feet? If he puts on a patio, it seems as though it wouldn't affect it as much as putting on the patio. Am I missing something?
Yeah, I believe so. The garage normally on a house in this residential area that I'm talking about, normally is about 24 feet or 25 feet, because they still want to have that frontage to the back, which basically is the golf course. So, they do not want a garage to go all the way to the back. They want
And it won't.
Yeah, so basically, they're using the front 5 feet to add it to the 20-feet garage that they have, and they still have the, master bedroom or something in the back, and the patio is basically in the back.
So how close can you build that garage to the back property line under this request?
If you want to have a garage, you can go 15 feet. You would be 15 feet from the front to 15 feet in the back, so that makes it a 70-feet deep garage, which is not popular for a 60 by 100 lot.
But from the property line, the rear property line, to the rear of the building, is that going to be 15 feet maximum?
If they go that direction. I haven't seen or haven't built anything like that deep anyway.
Okay.
But, the patio right now can be within 10 feet of the rear property line.
Good, that makes sense to me.
Thank you.
I have a question for staff.
Yes, go ahead.
Just a quick question. When we changed, or when Mojave County changed the ordinance for everybody's setbacks, originally, and this was excluded due to the BOS resolution prior. Why are we picking and choosing and not doing the project as a whole to bring the entire area into Mojave County ordinance altogether to, that way it levels out throughout the county where it should be? Because it was excluded at one time.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Gabrielson, the reason why that we are only doing a few individuals within the Desert Lake subdivision is because of Prop 207. We don't want to impose a setback on them that they don't necessarily want or need. And so we don't want them coming back and saying, hey, you changed my setback without my permission. And so that's why we sent out individual forms and waivers for each individual property, making sure that they were okay with us making that changes to their property.
Okay, and then as I understand it, any individual who owns vacant property or maybe didn't get the letter because they're not here in the state or it wasn't forwarded, once this is done, they'll have to go through this process on their dime if they want these setbacks changed, each one individually, correct?
That's what we've been telling them so far,
Okay.
yes.
Because that's a lot of people, 100 and something that responded, 62 that was negative, out of 700 and something. That is a whole lot of people that probably didn't receive the letter. I mean, snowbirds, people who are investors, builders, they're out of states or whatever, when they find out about it, I see two different conflicts going on with our ordinance as Mojave County because of the BOS resolution on it, with people who didn't get letters altogether because there is 700 and something of them, and then going through an individual process to add it to it. So just curious, but thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may address Commissioner Gabrielson, the address that was used was the same address that the property taxes are being sent to.
Okay.
So if they are paying their property taxes, which in most cases they do, they should have received it. The only thing is that sometimes these days, people are preoccupied and they do not pay attention to, what they receive. And that's why I assume, because I know I live in the neighborhood and a lot of those neighboring properties contacted my office asking the same question. Well, we got this. We didn't know what exactly it was. They were talking about 20 to 15. And I said, no, go ahead and, read it and, apply to it. So my assumption is that because they are receiving their property taxes to their address, they are receiving these letters. Maybe they are not paying attention to, the opportunity that it's going to create for them.
All right, thank you.
No, to me, it sounds like a win-win deal. Any additional questions of the speaker?
No, but I have some continuation of questions for staff,
All right.
and maybe Mehdi might need to stay up there. It would seem to me that this requirement would not affect the present homeowners unless they want to add on. Then they could add on as long as they conform to this requirement should it go through and be passed. I don't see individuals having to come back and ask for this or ask for that. They're in a subdivision that Joe next door can do this. I have a lot next door to Joe. Now, why can't I do the same thing Joe did? If my comments are making sense, what I'm saying is, I think present owners should have the same, be held or allowed to be, or do whatever the new ones are going to do.
Mr. Chairman,
Can you comment on that?
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Abbott, you're absolutely right on that. And as you saw, one of the letters was in favor. The gentleman is doing the exact same thing. It's an existing home, and his garage is 20 feet, and he has room to extend the garage out by 10 feet. So he is going to he's very excited about doing that because now finally he can park his equipment, car, whatever, into the garage. So all the homeowners that are going to be in there, and as you know, most of the garages are gable trusses and can be easily extended out, for like additional 5 feet or 10 feet or whatever. So it is going to be applicable to 100% of the property owners. Same thing in the back. If they want to have a patio now that is going to be extending out, they can also use that or, add that to it.
Then question, can staff you need to get with people, or can you make the changes effective, like Medi says, for present homeowners?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, because the setbacks in Desert Lakes were set by a specific resolution that was adopted by the board, changing those setbacks really requires us to go back and contact individual property owners who have purchased the individual lots since Desert Lakes was recorded, which I believe was about 1989 or 1990. And that's what we did do. Because of the situation we are in, the property owners have to opt in. We can't, there is a clause in state statute, as Scott mentioned, that doesn't allow us just to go in and, even though we know it's going to be a benefit for you, change your setbacks on an individual resolution. So although we, staff agrees with the commission's concept that yes, even though I didn't ask to be included, if Bob can do it, I should be able to do it. We actually did need them to opt in to be consistent with state statute. Should someone come up at a later date, they still can opt in. It, as Mr. Hunt noted, it could very well possibly be on that they have to pay for the process.
Mr. Chairman, may I'm not sure, it may not address Commissioner Abbott's question. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the question was existing property owners that have existing homes, will the setback change for them or not? And the answer is, yeah, they were included. They had the option, be included. And many of them wanted to change their setback, so now they have the option to enlarge their garage. So the option was given to every single property owner, not just the ones that have empty lots, but the ones that already have houses on it. So everybody had the option, and it's an individual choice. And so many of them didn't answer. I think probably there's a reason they didn't answer. We gave plenty time. Some of them are coming back, and they say, oh gosh, we kind of misplaced it, we still want this. And like I indicated before, we will make every effort to include them, and hopefully we can do it at no cost to them. But it's quite a bit of effort, and so we have to look at our priorities, and I cannot just make a blank promise that we're going to do this for anybody, anytime. Our plan is right now to make a second round with that for those that responded late. But again, I don't want to make a commitment.
I understand what you're saying, and I understand what Chris said about you can't do this because of the previous resolution. Is it illegal for us to include in Resolution 93-122, which is the one we're talking about, is it illegal for us to include in there that present property owners have the same right as, say, a piece of property that Mr. Azami has here? I'm a little unclear on that. I'm not unclear on what you're saying, but it just seems to me if we're going to do this in the subdivision, we should allow everybody to do it without having to come back a year from now, or the guy next door that wants to add on 10 feet to his garage, this will give him a right to do it, won't it?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Abbott, the opportunity was given to every single property owner. There were nobody was left out. Everyone had the option, whether they have a building on it or not. But if I understand correctly, your question is that can you just make it for the entire subdivision? And as Scott pointed out, Prop 207 was enacted. If the government makes a new regulation, which this would be a new regulation, then the government could be liable for damages, for lawsuits. So That's why the approach that we have taken was that we give each property owner an option, if they want it or they don't want it, and gave them plenty time to respond. And the ones that responded, a great majority that wanted it, that's a proposal that they will get it. The ones that didn't want it, they won't get it because they have their right under Prop 207.
So the 180 that responded yes
Yeah.
will be included,
Yes.
the others won't be.
That is correct. And then the ones that come in later and they change their mind, we will try to accommodate them. But that's all I can say.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Commissioner Abbott, let me see if I can, make a suggestion, and again, Bob Taylor and Director Hahn would be able to do that. I believe that your concern is that, somebody who, basically misunderstood or whatever, have the opportunity later on to be able to enjoy the same ordinance. The question I have for Bob Taylor is it possible for the Board of Supervisors to delegate a task to the director if in the future someone wants to do it? So they would basically delegate their authority on that setback decision to the director of the, Planning and Zoning Commission.
No, I don't believe that it would be possible to delegate that to an administrative decision because it is, since there is a setback that's imposed legislatively, it would take a legislative decision to reverse that.
Okay.
Well, I hear what you say, but do you consider this letter that has gotten a response from 180 people to be something that's legislated it?
The letter itself is not a legislative, that's just their response. As a property owner, there's a state statute that says that a county can't change a property owner's zoning classification without that property owner's consent. And that's what the letter addresses. It still takes a legislative action to change the setback. All the letters do is just show that they consent to the change in legislation that affects their property.
I don't mean to delay this thing, but it seems to me the 180 letters that you got back are going to give the property owners certain rights. But because you didn't get a letter back, the others have to come before whatever. That just doesn't seem right to me.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes.
may add, Commissioner Abbott, because I live in the same area, it was advertised properly. Every property received, signs, and every property owner received on their same address as their property tax they received, the letter that was explaining to them the possibility or the opportunity. So all the property owners had ample opportunity to review and do that. And even if they, for whatever the reason, they missed it, that option is open for them to come before the, the commission and all that. So let's assume that somebody didn't like it at this time, and the house was purchased by a different person, and the other person says, my neighbor was able to add 10 feet to the garage. It is not that the door is shut. They can still come back and, add to it, which is going through the process.
Well, we sit here now and say that, but 2 years from now, there'll be a different commission, different people out there. I'm not sure they'll take the same attitude for present property owners if we had some way to get it in there now.
Well, we are the advisory committee. I'm hoping that, we would have a board of supervisors who uses, common sense and understand that, if majority of the subdivision is, going forward with it, they would agree with that notion.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I have a few points. One, it seems to me that I haven't read the proposition, but it's intended to give property owners the benefit of the doubt. In other words, it doesn't want to restrict their rights unnecessarily. But what we would be doing by allowing them the option would be to expand their option or not to restrict them. I mean, it seems like the intent of the prop would be to not restrict property owners after the fact. where this is trying to expand their options and give them more right to do something with their property. I mean, I don't know that, but it just seems like common sense that that would be the case. So what I'm concerned with is the same thing Commissioner Abbott is, which is we go piecemeal. If there are 500 property owners that are not impacted by this because they didn't know, they didn't understand, they sell the property later, someone inherits it, then we have this patchwork going on where there's going to be a lot more expense, a lot more time, a lot more trouble for those property owners. So if the intent of the prop was to help property owners, what we're doing is we're hamstringing those 500 that aren't included or not given the option. So I don't know how to solve that problem, but I believe it is a problem. And I don't think it's fair to those other property owners, even though they were noticed. We've all received things in the mail if we didn't work for the government and we're just a regular guy. You don't necessarily even know what that paper was talking about. So I think people are going to be coming back and it's going to end up being a problem for the county administratively. My second thing is I think it's great for the depth of the garage. I'm reading some of these, the property owner concerns about the back. And I've been in that area many times, having lived here and for quite some time. And I could see where if someone's view was obscured of the golf course, that they laid their whole backyard out just so that they could have the view of the 18th hole or whatever it is that they're enjoying. I have concerns that we're going to be blocking this for those property owners who've been living there for 20 some odd years. So those are my three things.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell, actually, the rear setback is going to be more restrictive right now with this one that you're going to pass, because right now, people, they can build, as I said, all the way up 50% of the setback. So they can build their patio into the basically 10 feet of their rear property under the existing zoning that they have. So it is right now 10 feet. I can pull a permit without changing anything and add a obstruction, which is the patio.
Well, a patio is open air.
No, not really. I mean,
There's a lot of air with a patio versus a solid building. And so you're saying this change is more restrictive for the rear?
15 feet. That would be.
Well, then that changes. Then it's not necessarily a benefit to all those other property owners. So I'm misunderstanding.
They have a choice on that. That basically they have more than anything else is going to accommodate, more depth in the garage. Most changes is going to be in the front, not in the back.
So if they have a 15-foot setback in the rear, they're not allowed to have a patio half the distance to their...
If they want to build a house, which normally, as you know, in Arizona, nobody builds, without a patio, because of the, vicious sun that we have in Bowling area. Right. So they have a patio. So if you basically, especially on the golf course. So if that is the case, definitely the impact is not in the back. The impact is in the front, because they want to add the garage from, instead of 20-feet garage, would be 25-foot garage, so they can park their, truck in there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One of the questions that I've heard here, and Commissioner Burrell brought up a very good point, is there's some 700 lots? Is that
575 lots altogether. Was recorded in that track. Some of them are not on the golf course. Most of them are on the boundaries, so they're not on the golf course itself. So they don't have much of a view. They have backs into other properties.
My concern is that we've got some 400 people that are going to want to come back and go through this same thing 400 times. I mean, over a period of a couple of years, So that's my thought on that. But
Mr. Chairman,
we're dealing with state statutes, so.
Well, we don't have an option. Yeah, we are, we have to go by state statutes. Yeah. But to answer Commissioner Brule and Abbott's question, that it's obviously expanding their right. Yeah, it depends how do you look at it. Obviously, about 180 thought that it's expanding their right, but 62 said, no, it's not expanding my right, I don't want it. So we have to give them that option by law to choose. I don't think we have an option in that. And they were given the option. They were given ample opportunity, like Mr. Rosarmi pointed out, that the mailings went to the same place where they pay their taxes, you know, so they must have received it. And we have to kind of move on. We can't leave this open for a year or 2 years that maybe they respond one day. So we had to set our deadline, and then we have our procedures. You know, we not only mailed to them, we posted the properties, went through everything. That's another thing. It's regulated by statutes, the notification, and that's all we can do.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Thank you. It seems like administratively, the way this was done, that we needed affirmative response in order to take any action on the property, and that's the proposition. Okay. For instance, I just want to give you something I'm familiar with, which is the special assessment laws. It doesn't require an affirmative response to levy an assessment on a property. It just requires that 50% plus one don't protest it. So I know that's a different area of law, but it allows for administratively for it to be kind of cleaner, more uniform, and consistently applied to properties within an area. Isn't there something that allows that kind of uniformity and consistency? Because if you can basically lien a property for thousands of dollars without an affirmative from the property owner, then I don't see how giving a property owner more latitude with their property, you know, it just seems like there would be some creative or some other way to be able to do this consistently to avoid the problem of having individual property owners coming back and revisiting this numerous times.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Brewer, these are very good and logical questions. These are legal questions, so I was going to ask county attorney to respond to the legal side. Special districts have different laws.
Yes, I know.
Chairman Flouchet, Commissioner Brewer, the statutes are constructed differently. You know, for a special assessment district, you cannot permit you know, a minority to hold up the public improvements that the special assessment district is intended if a majority of the people want it. That's not the way the zoning statutes are constructed. Under the zoning statutes, there's a specific provision that says that a county cannot change the zoning classification of a particular piece of property without that property owner's consent, and that's really the issue we're dealing with. The other issue that we're dealing with here is, although there are maybe 400, 500 property owners that have not requested the zoning change, we now have, since we started this process, before us 179, is that what it is? People that have, in fact, requested this zoning change. So we owe that, though it creates maybe more labor down the road, but we owe those 179 people the opportunity for it to be considered.
Any additional questions? Yes.
Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, just as a side point as well, when we first originally sent out these letters, I myself and I know Chris Ballard received probably 10, 15 calls a day asking, okay, what is this? And so it's not that everybody just doesn't know what it is and they threw it away or something like that. They've been asking questions, and we've received numerous people calling and saying, okay, you're changing the setbacks, that doesn't apply to me, I don't need to do it. And so they've just kind of set it aside. So it's not that there's 500 people out there that doesn't know about it. They've been calling, they've been asking questions, they understand, a lot of them do understand, and have chose not to submit anything, or have chose to say no as well, so.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions of the speaker or the staff? Ms. Ballard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there may have been misunderstanding, and the misunderstanding began with me and Mr. Azarmi. I misunderstood a question he asked me. He was speaking about the 10-foot setback that, before the change, they could still go a 10-foot setback with a patio. They'll still be able to do that. We actually changed the ordinance a couple of months ago to allow that continuation. I just wanted to clarify that. I misunderstood a question that he'd asked me before the meeting, and I apologize.
Okay.
You good with that? Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. I've asked the attorney what to do with something. I just received an email from Nancy McLean's office. She's the assistant to Mr. Stephen Moss. And she noted that 2 people had walked into the office this morning and wanted to object to the item that's before the commission right now. One was a Mr. Ron Olmsted. He said he would like a 120-day postponement of the bison abandonment. That is not on this agenda. The other one was Bob Burke, who was, so it's be just this one individual one. Bob Burke is opposed to changes in the setbacks at Desert Lakes, feeling that the lots are too small already and that larger houses should not be built. So, excuse me, there was just the one additional objection to the items before you.
Yeah. Actually, the size of the building's got nothing to do with us. Any additional questions of the speaker or staff? Go ahead, Mr. Abbott.
Things keep coming up, and I spent a lot of time looking at this. You have lots in the area now.
Yes.
So if this goes through, per staff recommendation, you're okay with how it goes through. Now, if you want to buy a neighbor's lot that hasn't responded to this, what are you going to have to do?
I have to make a decision to apply and come through the process and do that. And the door is open. It was fairly advertised. It was fairly, educated everyone. Some people, they maybe, not really into it at this time, but the door is open. I mean, that's the whole thing.
You as a property owner and a developer,
Yeah.
you're okay with coming back through this process to get approval if it hasn't been responded to?
Absolutely. See, I'm also a builder, so I see the market changing, as I explained to you, and pretty much 100% of the new homes are being built with oversized garages,
Okay.
and they need to have more than 400 square foot, which is 20 by 20. Your truck is larger than 20 feet, my truck is more than 20 feet, and as I said, pretty much the retirees that are moving to our area, they're asking for larger garages. And I know this is going to be, more than anything else, is going to accommodate that additional 5 feet that would change the 20 feet to 25 feet. So it is an enhancement to the property owners. As I said, I built over 700 homes in this area, and I see the culture changing from a 20 foot by 20 foot garages that I started 26 years ago to small homes, large garages, because the toys that they have is more expensive than the house itself.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
True. Any additional questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the change to resolution number 93-122.
Do we have a second?
Per staff recommendation,
Per staff recommendation.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Walker, a second by Commissioner Abbott. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 2.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, item number 2 is an evaluation of a request for an amendment to BOS Resolution number 91-231 on the assessor parcels listed in your staff report to allow for a setback reduction in rear yards from 20 feet to 15 feet in the South Mojave Valley vicinity, Mojave County, Arizona. The assessor parcel numbers listed are located within Desert Lakes Golf Course and Estates, Unit 6, Tract 4132. All subject properties within this tract are currently zoned SDRO 6M, Special Development, Single Family Residential, Mobile Homes Prohibited, 6,000 square foot minimum lot size zone. The difference between this one and the previous item is that it's a different tract, and their setbacks were set by separate resolutions. These setbacks were set by BOS Resolution number 91-231 that was adopted September 3rd, 1991. The minimum setback set forth by this resolution are the standard RO setbacks as described in the regulations within the Mojave County zoning ordinance, except the rear setback, which is 20 feet. So these ones had a little bit different setbacks. The front setback is whatever the county ordinance states for the RO zone, and the setback in the rear was set at 20 feet. The request here is to be able to change that 20 feet to 15 feet in the rear so that it would be in line with the county ordinance as well as the rest of the subdivision with the item that we just did earlier. Staff recommends to amend BOS Resolution number 91-231 as follows. The minimum setback for this development shall be the standard RO setback as described in the regulations, except the rear setback, which shall be 15 feet. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Zami, would you like to come up? All right, any questions of the applicant or Mr. Zami or staff?
I have a question for staff. I respect you people with legal and staff recommendation very much, much more than I understand. I get educated every week, but I don't understand a lot of things that you do. But was a letter required for you to make this recommendation, send out to property owners?
Yes, sorry, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Abbott. I failed to explain that we went through the same process as we did on the previous item, where we sent letters to everybody there, and this was a smaller tract, but only 11 responded saying, yes, we wanted our setbacks changed within this tract.
11 out of how many, roughly?
30.
Reading the wrong thing.
Give me 1 second.
Maybe 30.
I thought we had it open here.
Mr. Abbott, Mr. Holtry is looking for that number, but I will tell you that we may have a little bit of difficulty coming up with a solid number. All the letters for both tracks were sent out in one group.
35, maybe?
So all the things that we've discussed is going to apply to this one, just like the one we just...
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Abbott, just doing a rough estimate count, it looks like there was about 32 houses that were in that tract. It's not the same as our previous item where we were changing the front and rear. This one's just the rear because the front is already taken care of with the Mojave County zoning ordinance.
Thank you.
So we got 32 lots, we had 11 people respond, and do you know if those were vacant landowners or existing, do you know? Just curious.
Mr. Chairman, a few of them were vacant and some were existing as well.
Any additional questions of the staff? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve according to staff recommendations.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gabrielson and a second by Commissioner Walker. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, thank you.
Should I charge you by minutes standing there?
Yeah, I was going to charge you double. Call to the public. Anybody wishing to speak on any item other than what is on today's agenda? Public comment period is over. I'll entertain a motion to, do we have any announcements or anything from staff?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
You talked about announcement. With the hard work of Director Hunt and his department, working with ADOT, finally the Super Walmart in Fort Mojave broke ground, and it's very exciting for the Fort Mojave Valley. Board of Supervisors obviously were in support of that. Also, Board of Supervisors helped us with DOT, which is the largest food distributors in the United States. It's going in the Mojave Valley area, and there is a charter school, Desert Star, that is about to start construction in January in Fort Mojave area. So after like a very long recession, tsunami, we see some, signs of recovery in our part of Woods. So I just wanted to make sure you know that.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Walker, second by Commissioner Gabrielson. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Thank you. See you later, Dale.
All right, hey, thank you very much.